Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to a Transfer Talk live stream. I'm joined by Paul McAllister. We're going to be running through all the big transfer rumours that have been going around in the past week or so. Shortly we'll be having the Everton 24/7 report as well come out, which I've just done. So if you want today's latest news, there's that coming up as well after this stream. But for now, we're going to be discussing the big rumours which have come out this week. We'll start with the headliners really are the ABC, Aguero, Bale, Coutinho, hasn't it? Really, they're like all the big eyebrow raisers that have come out this week. But we'll start with the one that's come out today, really, which is Gareth Bale. What's your take on that one, Paul?
Oh, Gareth Bale coming to Everton next season?
Yeah.
Absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. He's not really done anything at Spurs, has he? I know it probably sounds a bit stupid I'm saying that when he's just scored an hat-trick, but it was against Sheffield United. It's not worked, really. He was brought in to sort of add a bit of stardust to Spurs' team, and he's not really done that other than maybe the odd game or two here or there. The only reason Gareth Bale even went back to Spurs was just to basically get some minutes ahead of the Euros next season, because he makes no secret of the fact that he doesn't care about club football anymore, really. He only cares about playing golf and playing for Wales. So if he's not going to put the effort in for the club that kind of made him who he is, then what's he going to come and put the effort in at Everton for if we were to get him? So it's an absolute no. And even if he was willing to come here and try hard, it's not going to happen, because for anyone who doesn't know, Carlo Ancelotti doesn't get along with Gareth Bale. They clashed when they were both at Real Madrid, and Ancelotti says in his autobiography, Quiet Leadership, he writes about Bale that in the nicest possible way that Ancelotti does, because Ancelotti's not the type of person to kind of just come out and really slag someone off, is he? But he said that Bale went behind his back to Florentino Perez, complaining about where he was getting played in the team and trying to pressure the Perez to pressure Ancelotti to indulge Bale a bit more. And Ancelotti's on the record as saying he didn't like that from a player. So no, it's absolutely not happening. It's just a silly rumour made up by a journalist, and I can't believe anyone's taking it even half seriously.
Yeah, this one came from, it was a Spanish La Liga TV show, I think, this one, El Chiringuito.
Never heard of it.
But if it's that kind of level of transfer rumour we're dealing with there. So yeah, it's not one I can see being a goer at all. I mean, aside all the things I've already mentioned, the Ancelotti angle and stuff, that's worth remembering the crazy wages he's on, and that he doesn't seem too keen on taking pay cuts.
He's not fit either. Do you know what I mean? We've already got a Galactico player who's here, who's fit for 20, maybe 25 games a season, and that's James Rodriguez. And he's a far harder worker than Gareth Bale is, and he's got more in the tank than Gareth Bale has. And he gets along with the manager a lot more than Gareth Bale would. So we don't need another player like that. I'd only be wanting to sign a player who's up there in age, as in and around 30 or past 30. If they were going to come in and be an absolute whale beater, guaranteed, they could be the difference between finishing 8th and finishing 4th. And would Gareth Bale make that big a difference if he came into Everton, even if he did want to come in and try hard? I don't think he would at this stage of his career. So, no, I pay it no mind, people. No mind at all.
Yeah, Toffee Blues John just popped up. El Chiringuito, it's the TV show. I think that Florentino Perez went on to big up the Super League when it was completely falling on its head.
What was that old show that Frank Skinner and David Baddiel used to do?
Oh, the Fantasy Football League.
Yeah, basically just the
one where they like racist every other week.
Yeah, the Mickey. It was very of its time, like the 90s, early 2000s lads Mickey take type football show. That's what that Spanish version or whatever it is. That's what that sounds like. Where basically people go on there, football people, and essentially just make a show of themselves, like Perez did. So I wouldn't take anything they're reporting seriously.
There you go. Yeah. On that note, a couple of people just popped up in the chat here when Koeman's in. He said, I hope we sign Aarons. Now, Max Aarons, Adam McNulty, Everton 90% out of the Aarons deal. We've read this today. Fabrizio Romano actually come out with this. He's obviously one of the more reliable transfer reporters. And he said that we may well be pulling out of the pursuing Aarons because other clubs have come in. What's your take on that?
I think that sounds like a game of chess, to be honest. We clearly want Max Aarons. Max Aarons, from everything we've heard, it seems pretty keen on coming to Everton. Norwich are probably, and quite rightly, are going to make us pay through the nose to get him because they're coming back up into the Premier League. They don't have to sell anyone; they don't want to. So I believe the Max Aarons deal will get done. It's just it's not going to get done anywhere near as soon as we'd like it to. It'll probably be this year's Sigurdsson signing, where it kind of drags on until probably late July, early August before we finally see him holding the shirt up. But I think we'll get Max Aarons, but I don't blame the club for basically trying to
The deals in.
Yeah, to basically focus on getting other deals done first and thinking, right, this one's going to take a while. We'll have to go at a slow pace with this one. We can't just push it through and get it done for the first week of pre-season. Norwich are probably wanting a certain amount of money that we're not willing to pay, or we want them to think we're not willing to pay it. We're trying to haggle them down. But I still think that deal will happen. It's just, we're all just going to have to be patient. That'll be one of the biggest shocks of the summer transfer window if that deal doesn't happen, to be honest. If Max Aarons stays at Norwich, I'd be stunned. If he doesn't come to Everton, it'll be because some other club has come in who are better than Everton, who've got in before us and offered more money. But don't have to sell him, as I just mentioned. But I think it's pretty clear that Max Aarons has outgrown Norwich, and Norwich sound like they know that, and the player himself knows it. So Max Aarons is going to go somewhere. Everton are still the front runners as far as I'm concerned. I know Fabrizio is normally pretty reliable, but it wouldn't shock me if someone who's involved in the deal, maybe from our side, is maybe feeding that just to kind of put the feelers out and make Norwich think that we're
panic a little bit.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. I think that's been fed to Fabrizio on purpose by somebody who wants to get a narrative out there, and it's not necessarily the case that we're not interested anymore.
Yeah, I think if that is the case, I'd be very disappointed with that because, again, it'd probably be a sign of us crapping our pants and doing a runner just because a bigger club's come and made the offer for him.
I don't think we'll do that. I think if Max Aarons doesn't come to Everton, it'll be because another club has come in and offered him more than we can, and he fancies going there instead. Or if Norwich are just completely unrealistic in their valuation of him. And I can't say it enough, they've got absolutely no reason to want to sell him. They're coming up to the Premier League. They'll be confident that they can stay up in the Premier League this time. They look like they're in far better shape to do it. And if they take a player as good as him out of their side, they're weakening themselves significantly, aren't they? So I wouldn't blame them and turn around to Max Aarons. If they turn around to Max Aarons and they say, short of absolutely stupid money, mate, we're not selling you. And I hope not. I hope they'll be reasonable and agree that, like I said, he's earned his chance to go to a bigger club. And Everton are the right club for him. And he seems like he's got his heart set on coming here because he's good mates with Godfrey and they're always tagging each other. And it seems like they both can't wait to be playing together soon.
Yeah, it'd be great if that's the case. Gomes just popped up. If it's Sidibe's contract up next one, would you have him back?
No.
I didn't think you would, mate.
Not against Sidibe. I mean, I've seen worse players play for Everton. I've seen better. He came in for the season on loan, did what he could. Sometimes he was good. Sometimes he was really, really bad. He didn't prove enough while he was here to show that he was worth sticking with at the long term. And that's why we didn't buy him, even though he was available on the cheap. So good luck to him and whatever he does in his career. But if Sidibe was to come back, then, oh my God, I think it would say an awful lot about the state we were in. And I don't think we're in that bad a squad. Our squad's not that bad that we need to be bringing players at his level back.
Yeah, Wormy Spoons has popped up with some right wingers. Obviously, right wing is definitely a primary target this summer. Bailey, Lozano, Pulisic, I don't think that's going to be happening. Chukwueze, I think that's a very interesting one. I really like the look of him.
I don't know much about him. Who's he play for?
Villarreal.
No, I don't really know much about him. I know we've been linked with Lozano on and off for years, haven't we? And again, he's an ex-Carlo player.
I'm not sure if he'd be the answer for us. I don't think.
No,
too lightweight.
I'd have had Lozano a year ago, but as you said, I think we've moved on from that now, and we need a different type of wide player.
Leon Bailey's the massive. I don't think we'll be getting him personally. I feel like if to get him, we needed to be in the Champions League personally, and it's not happening.
Same with Pulisic. I mean, Chelsea are not selling Pulisic. They'd be absolutely stupid too. He's a world-class player, and he brings in loads of money from the North American market. I'd be absolutely stunned if Chelsea are willing to part with Pulisic. And if they were, then he's not going to swap Chelsea for Everton, no matter who our manager is. So as much as I'd love that Pulisic is not coming to Everton in a month for Sundays. Leon Bailey, as you said, I think that's more realistic, but I think he could get a Champions League club, to be honest. And it'll depend on what his options are. If by Champions League club, it's a team in Italy, like an, don't know, who's up there, like Atalanta.
Atalanta or something.
Yeah, Atalanta, or a team in France like Lille. I think we could probably convince them to maybe come to us over clubs like that, because what are those clubs really looking to do long term? They're having good seasons this year and they're going to play in the Champions League, but are they really going to be challenging for anything in the next 5 years? Probably not, no. Or no. So I could see us maybe getting Bailey in over a club like that, but if a team like a Borussia Dortmund or an AC Milan or an Inter Milan or an Atletico Madrid were to go in for someone like Leon Bailey, we wouldn't have a hope, honestly. He can get a Champions League club, and a club that's in the Champions League every year and getting through the group stages every single year and challenging for silverware every single year. But if we just got to hope that maybe we can get in there and just get a deal before everyone else, maybe. So that one's, I think, slightly realistic, but I'm not holding my breath.
No, me neither. A couple of other shouts people are throwing around there. There's Dan James. I don't think that's a good shout, personally. Aaron Koeman reckons so, but
I like him. Don't you like him?
Not for what we're after. I want someone a bit more heavyweight and a bit more, I don't know, someone a bit more physical.
You know what? One, I don't think United would loan him out to another Premier League club. I don't think that's stupid, because in the right setup, I think he'd be a really useful player. So if he gets loaned out, it'll be probably somewhere abroad, or maybe not the Championship, because I think he's better than the Championship. If they loan him out, it'll be to some team that's down well in the bottom half, where they know he's going to get minutes and he can't hurt them, but they're not going to loan him to a club like Everton or a club like Tottenham or Leicester or Arsenal, just anyone who's in and around where they are or looking to get in and around where they are. I think he'd be a good move if we could get him, if we were in Europe and we had lots of games, but it's not looking realistic now, is it? And if you were any player who were looking to loan next season would have to come in and play a big part in the first team, because we're not going to have the games in Europe to use them, are we? We're not going to have a lot of squad. There's not going to be a lot of need for loads of squad depth, is there? So if we got Europe somehow, then I'd be up for having Daniel James if we could possibly get him, which I don't think we could, but I'd be up for it. But I don't even think if we don't get Europe, we should probably be looking to getting. We should be looking at getting someone in on a permanent if we're not going to get Europe, because we're going to have to try and build a team around them, and I don't think United would sell him.
No. A few others getting thrown around. Allan Saint-Maximin.
It's the same as the Max Aaron situation. He's a good player, but why would Newcastle let him go? They don't have to. And in this case, he could be the difference between them staying up and going down, wouldn't he? How long's he got left on his deal?
Not sure. He's only been there a couple of years, hasn't he?
That's what I mean. He's not been there long. So unless I don't know if he signed an extension or anything, but if he's got 3 or more years on his deal, then Newcastle are not letting him go anywhere, because without him they could go down, and we know they're not going to be able to go out and replace him with anyone who's any good. I mean, they only signed him on a gamble, didn't they? Every player they sign, they bring in hoping they're going to be good. And some of them are like him, and some of them are absolutely god awful, like Joe Linton. So I'd have Saint-Maximin for the same reasons I just mentioned. Daniel James, I think he'd be a good squad depth player and add something different. But if you're not going to have Europe, then it's where you get him into the side. Is he going to get the minutes he'd want?
Saint-Maximin would get in our side easy.
Yeah, he would, but how old is he? Is he mid-20s or is he older than
Pretty
that?
young, I think. I think he's only like 23, 20, like Richarlison age.
Is he? I thought he was a bit older. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting him mixed up with someone else, but did he break onto the scene young? Because I've just got in my head that he's been around, not at Newcastle, but he's been in and around the game for about.
He's playing for Nice when he broke through it, like Nice when he was like 18 or something, wasn't he?
I know he's been around a good while. Like, I'd heard of him before he went to Newcastle, so I in my head assumed he was 27-ish, something like that. So I thought, are we going to sign a player like that and give him a long deal? But he'd get in our team definitely, but Newcastle are not going to sell him, and they shouldn't have to. And without Europe, well, it's less realistic, isn't it? I think if he was going to leave Newcastle, if he did manage to convince him to sell him, he could probably get a team that's in Europe rather than Everton, who look like we're going to finish 8th, sadly.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It's really talking about transfers now is a lot more depressing than it would have been a week ago. I just feel like without Europe, I feel like it's really bleak for next season.
It seems like we're in this position every single summer where we've got just dross to get rid of. 6 months ago, we thought we had most of the dross gone, but now we realise there's actually still a lot of dross here. Players who we didn't necessarily consider dross not long ago have shown in this run-in that they are absolutely dross because they bottled it. They couldn't kick us on and get us into 7th even, by the looks of it. Players like Iwobi, players like Gomes, players like Holgate, players who you think, right, they're not automatic starters ideally, but they're good enough to play them. We can live with them for a couple of years. They could play a part if we get in the Europa League or the Cup game. We can throw them in for a game here or there. They probably won't let us down more often than not. But no,
they have.
They have. They've proven they have. So
I'll be honest, mate, Richarlison's going down the same route at this rate.
I mean, Richarlison's had his worst season since he got here. This is his 3rd year, and his first 2 years were better than this. But I still think Richarlison, if he stays around, is going to be a really important player for us. So I'm not running out of patience necessarily with Richarlison. I think he's just not managed to hit his usual very high levels that he had in the first 2 seasons. But I'm confident. I've seen enough in him to be confident that he could get back to that if we get better players around him. But as I was mentioning then, it just seems like every season we've got dross to clear out. And I can't remember the last time we went into a summer. Can you answer me this? When was the last time we went into a summer where you thought there wasn't at least 2 or 3 players you were desperate for us to get rid of?
Oh, probably Moyes era.
Moyes era, yeah. Ever since Martinez
started bringing dross in. First summer.
Ever since
Alcaraz in and Kone.
Yeah, ever since Martinez basically was able to have free reign over the transfers in his 2nd summer, where he basically was able to bring in his own men and phase out some of the older players from the Moyes era, like Distan and Tim Howard and things like that. Since that era, like 5-6 years ago, it just feels like every single summer we've got a list of players who we're just desperate to get shot of. And they're just a drain on the club, and they're not even good enough to be squad players, as we were just saying. I can't remember last time we went into a summer where it was just like, let's just focus on getting the players that we want. Let's not focus on getting rid of players we don't want. It just seems like it happens every summer. 6 months ago, as I was saying, we thought we had a fairly decent squad, and even the players who weren't starters were probably good enough to be keeping us in the top half and in and around the European places, but they're absolutely not. And we've just got more and more crap to get rid of. I mean, Bernard will probably go because he nearly went to Saudi Arabia in January, so I imagine getting a deal for him won't be too hard because we probably won't charge a lot of money for him. But how are we going to get rid of the likes of Iwobi? How are we going to get rid of the likes of Gomez? We spent fortunes on them.
Gomez is the real tough one, I think, to get shut off. He's the highest earner.
Yeah, he's on
James maybe, but
on massive wages. In Gomez's case, he's had a horrific injury, so who's even going to take a chance on him, even if he was willing to bring his wage down? Iwobi's just garbage. You'd have to find.
The thing is, though, at least Iwobi will probably get a lower Prem team or something. Might maybe take a gamble on him.
I think Iwobi will be like Blassie. I think clubs will be willing to have him on loan, but they're not willing to actually put their hand in the pocket and pay to have him on a permanent. They'll offer us a loan deal with an option to buy at the end of it, and we'll probably.
I think we've got to hope that. I think we've got to hope that Iwobi does something like what Lingard's done at West Ham on loan from United. You need something of that ilk to happen for him.
You'd hope so, but the thing is, Lingard's hitting this great run of form because he's got something to aim for. He's trying to get in the World Cup squad. What's Iwobi got to aim for? He didn't when his Arsenal career was on the line, his boyhood club, in his last 6 months there. He didn't do anything then, did he? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so players, when they hit these players who everyone think is mediocre and crap, usually have these great runs of form when they're playing for something, when they're playing for a move, when they're playing to get a call up internationally, when they're playing for a new contract. What's Iwobi going to go to Crystal Palace or Watford or whoever play for? He's not going to go there to basically play to prove he belongs back at Everton. He's not going to go there and play to get in the World Cup, get in the Nigeria squad, because he's going to get in that no matter what. And he's not going to go in there open to get a new contract with Everton because he knows he's not going to get. And I don't think he's the type of fella where if he did well, if he went down to Palace and he did all right, he wouldn't be that fussed if he stayed at Palace or if he did get sent back.
I think that's just sort of screams the type of player he is. There's a real lack of hunger in him.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I don't think he's a bad lad at heart. Do you know what I mean? He's not like
no.
Yeah, he's not one of these like players like a Delphi. You just know is just rinsing the club and happy to rinse the club. But it's just he's one of these footballers where we just think like football's not the most important thing in his life, or it doesn't seem to be. I think he just likes being a free spirit person who just plays football as a hobby, essentially. It's how he makes money. It's his profession, but it's not the be all and end all for him. And sometimes you need football to be the be all and end all for a player if you're going to get the best out of them. And to be honest, I only want Everton players, or I only want players at Everton who football is the be all and end all for them. They're obsessed with getting better. They're obsessed with taking the club forward. They're obsessed with trying to win things. I don't need a player who just comes here and is just not really bothered if he plays well, good or well. Or I'm saying he's not really bothered if he has a stinker or if he has a good game, which doesn't seem what he is.
No, and there's too many players like that. I think Gomez's problem for me is more of a mentality thing. I think he's got ability. He's got, if he gets back, like obviously recovering from an injury, I think he's got the physicality. I just think he's so mentally weak.
It's that, and he's not athletic enough for me.
Too slow, yeah.
He's a sloth, mate. He's so slow. I mean,
I don't think I've ever seen a player like, with the exception of maybe like 35 plus centre halves.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen a player that slow. Certainly not in central midfield in the Premiership.
He runs like a player who retired like 2 or 3 years ago when the legs went. Do you know what I mean? Where he's fitter than the average man, but he doesn't look anywhere near as fit as most other Premier League footballers do, and you can see the difference. That game against Aston Villa, like when Holgate basically panicked and lost the ball to Ollie Watkins, players like Gomes should be coming deep and demanding the ball there. He's meant to be the playmaker in the team. He's meant to be the player who's getting on the ball and getting his head up and make things happen. He should be coming deep to Delph, to Holgate, and say, right, give me the ball, and then I'm going to turn, and then I'm going to get my head up and look for something.
Thing is, Gomes was right there for a pass like before that happened, but it didn't look like he wasn't on the half turn or not, and it was literally he was already facing backwards. So if Holgate passed to Gomes, he was probably going to pass it straight back to him.
Yeah, as I said, part of that's mental weakness, as you said, and some of it I just think is he just doesn't use his physical traits as well as he should do. He's a big unit, Gomes. You know, he's about 6'2", and he's very
strong.
Ripped. Yeah, strong. It's why all the women absolutely love him, because he's a big, strong fella. He's in good shape. You can tell he lifts the weights and he trains hard and things like that. But he just doesn't use his size at all. He plays like a.
Doesn't win enough headers for my liking.
No, he won't go in for anything, and it's probably just because how he's come up. He's Portuguese. He started at was it Benfica?
Benfica, yeah.
Yeah, started at Benfica, then he played for Valencia, and then he was at Barcelona. He's used to playing in teams that take the front foot and are always on the ball in possession and don't look to go down the wings and put crosses in, or have to defend long balls, or have to put the foot in where it hurts to get possession.
Whatever happens, even if he was playing for a good team in this league who put the foot on the ball better than we do, you're in the Premier League, you're still going to have to jostle for a few headers.
Yeah, I think he's just one of these players like a Bernard, who's quite similar, but his problem is he hasn't got the size. He's at least got that excuse, whereas Gomes has. The really pretty footballers, they're technically very, very good. They look an absolute baller in the right league, but in a league like England, where it's so fast and it's so fierce and it's so unforgiving, that basically he just hasn't adjusted, has he? I mean, he did well in that initial loan spell, but he was, as I said, he was probably playing for a move, wasn't he? In that first season,
it was very similar, like to what we were saying about Iwobi and maybe Lingard at West Ham. And that he did bits when he was on loan here the first time around, but since even before he got injured in the Spurs game, he still didn't look like the same player.
No,
when he signed permanently.
No, he was playing well in the loan spell because he had something to grasp for. The same way Lingard is, the same way Saha was when we bought him on that pay-as-you-play deal. Does anyone remember that? And then he got a contract after that FA Cup final run. He got a 3-year deal, and he didn't really broke into a jog afterwards. Do you know what I mean? Look at Aubameyang at Arsenal. It's dried up for him this season because he's got his big contract now and he's stopped being bothered. But it's probably not a conscious thing where he's thinking, I'm just going to sit on my arse now and let everyone else do the work. But the pressure's off him. He's not got anything on his shoulders now. He's got the monkey off his back. He knows that he doesn't have to put that extra bit of effort in because there's no consequence. So his mind is going to let him just sort of drop his levels, drop off. It happens anyway. And I think it's happened with Gomes. But the thing is, Gomes is not good enough where even if he is playing on autopilot a bit, he's still a really, really effective player. He's not. So
no, definitely not.
So Gomes is got no or shouldn't have any long-term future at Everton, but it's whether we can shift him in the summer, isn't it? And same with Iwobi. Bernard, we've touched on it. I think he's just he's basically Gomes, but without the size. I think he's a really tricky, skillful footballer, but he's never ever going to be anything special in the Premier League. It's just too fast and it's too physical for him. And Holgate, I mean, I've stuck off for Holgate a lot this season. I know he's not, when he's been largely poor, and I was clinging to the belief that he could go back to being that player that he was last season, but I thought he was really good. But it just seems like he's gone backwards completely, and I think it's maybe gone to his head a little bit because the player he thinks he is not even half the player that he actually is. Do you know what I mean? He plays like he's world class, and he's not even.
He does think he's like Berati or something, doesn't he?
Yeah. Whereas based on the last 6 months, he wouldn't look out of place in a championship side. That looks like his level.
That's generous.
Yeah, and he had to go to the championship, play well for West Brom to prove that he belonged at a higher level. Fair play to him, he done it. He come back and he did well. But it's like that's all been for nothing now. It's all gone out the window. He's back to square one. So, are the club going to let him go out on loan again?
No,
no. I don't think he'd want to. But if the club, even if he was willing to go out on loan again to correct his mistakes and get his head down, I don't think the club would want to. He's 24 now. If you're not going to, if you're 24 and you played, I think he's over 100 games for Everton now. You played over 100 games and you still haven't kicked on and developed. Then we're not.
You got to start thinking of getting shoved.
Yeah, got to move on and give someone else a chance now. I mean, I'd be up for having Gareth Bale as our fourth choice centre back next season. Honestly, I know we're going to touch on the centre backs links we're getting in a minute, but if we are looking to shift the centre back in the summer, I'd shift him and I'd look to bring in Gareth Bale and say to Bale, right, you got a couple of games under your belt at Blackburn last season. You're going to stay here now and be our fourth choice centre back. We're going to go with Godfrey and a combination of Mina or Keane. Let Mina and Keane battle it out to be Godfrey's centre back partner, and you, Branthwaite, can be the emergency fourth choice backup if we get an injury. If one of those centre halves gets injured, then you can come up and be the third choice. Or if they both get injured, then maybe we can throw you in for a game here or there and see how you do. But Holgate, for me, if he's not good enough to be a starter, and without Europe, we're not going to need a big list of squad players, like I said. So I'd be looking to move him on.
Definitely. Never mind. There's a few little mentions here. Toffee Blues John said here, with criteria of joy if Everton brought in John McGinn, but it'd never happened, would be a great sign. I think I really like John McGinn. I love midfield. I just love a midfielder who moves and actually runs. I think I'd just cry if we got someone like that.
It's one of them, mate. It's hard to see all the other good teams that are in and around you. All their midfielders is just energetic. Really, you don't see many.
Not necessarily well-beaten midfielders. They just work hard.
Yeah, the teams
that's
are
all you need sometimes.
Yeah, they've got well-beaten attackers who can just focus on scoring the goals because they've got the midfielders behind them who will just do all the hard yards. That's what Liverpool won the league doing. They just had three centre midfielders who just absolutely ran the bollocks off. None of them contributed with goals, really, or assists. None of them looked to really get in the box and score or cause problems for defenders at set pieces. All he did was just tackle people and get possession and give it to the fellas in front of them. That's all they have to do. And that's what
midfielders generally, that's what the job is.
Yeah, the days of having centre midfielders like Zidane and Pirlo and Scholes, centre midfielders who just run the game from the centre circle and are basically just making a show of everyone around them, they're mostly gone, at least in this country. I mean, there's still a few who are around, but no way near as much as there was 10 years ago. It's midfielder now. Central midfielder is just being all energy. It's just being really, really fit and running around and tackling. You don't have to be it's a 20-yard perfect ball anymore. You don't have to be able to skin players and drive forwards into the box and get a goal yourself. You've just got to be very, very good at receiving the ball under pressure, releasing the ball quickly to a teammate, and getting the ball back when you lose.
Got to be able to move off the ball. Move off the ball. I've said this on a regular basis. The big problem with Everton, and this isn't just now, this has been for as long as I've watched Everton, to be honest, mate. The movement off the ball in our team is shambolic. Like, players don't move to receive passes.
No, they're all too individual, aren't they? when they're all playing together, it's like they don't want to do hard work to make someone else in the team's job easier. They're all just too focused on what they're doing. It's like, if I get the ball, I'll get my head down and try and do something with it. But I'm not going to run into this 20 yards of space to make myself available for a pass, because if I don't get that pass, then I've just done that for none. They're not happy to have that attitude of, I'll do something really, I'll do the donkey work just to make my teammate's job over there a little bit easier. It happens with the other day with Holgate. I mean, he was at fault, don't get me wrong, losing the ball the way he did, but no midfielder came deep to take it off him.
No, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, all he had to do was just walk 5-10 yards forward to give him a pass, and then he released, and he's got the pass, and then we're not under any pressure anymore. Watkins has got nothing to attack, has he? So I mean, it wouldn't have happened if a centre midfielder could have been bothered to just come back and give him an option. Now, I know it's not trying to excuse him. I know he was an idiot. It
was a bad mistake, yeah.
Bad mistake, but it could have been a mistake that he could have got away with if someone had just come forwards, put that extra bit of effort in, and he to give him an option, and he could have spotted the pass in time and got the ball to them. Just, we don't move enough, and when we're on the final third, players like Sigurdsson and players like Iwobi, Iwobi's terrible for it. They'll just run down a Brian's alley. He doesn't look to skin people or go round them or to pass through the lines.
No, he does worse than that. He skins players and then he turns back into them.
Well, one thing he does is he dribbles at like a bit of a jogging pace, and then he gets to the 18-yard box, realises he hasn't got an obvious pass on, and then he just turns around and passes it back to the fullback or the centre midfielder, and we're 10 yards away from the goal again, because no one around him is looking to get in, other than Calvert-Lewin, but Calvert-Lewin's usually getting marked by two centre-halves. There's no one in the box looking to get on the end of a ball that he can whip in. So he doesn't whip the ball in, because there's only one man there who he knows he's not getting it to. So he just has to turn around, and he's not clever enough to come up with any other ideas. So, as I agree with you, the midfield and the team in general is just, I think it's just laziness. I really do think it's laziness.
For me, it just concerns me is that Carlo Ancelotti's is, one of the best managers about, and if he can't get a tune out of them, who can?
Some can't, and that's why some don't belong at a lower level, because it's like, if that's your attitude, if that's the way you're going to approach the game, then go play for a club that will let you get away with that, and play for a manager who will let you get away with that. But that's what the club are planning to do. They are looking to shift out some players, and who we as fans know are not good enough. There'll be players who, if they're here next summer and we haven't even at least tried to get rid of them, who I'll just be so depressed, because it just feels like, oh my God, what are we giving this fella another chance for? What are we hoping to turn him into? We've seen enough to know he's never going to get any better than what he is, and what he is now, as evidenced by the way this campaign's going, he's not even good enough to get us in the top 7.
No, exactly. And I think with that in mind, like the types of players we have been linked with, are you happy with those types of players? Max Aarons, the names we've mentioned already. Coutinho as well. What about that?
Coutinho is still a well-beaten player, I think, and for the right team, but I think he could do better than Everton. Do you know what I mean? It's similar to Leon Bailey's situation, where I'd be happy if we went in and got him, personally. I know he's injury-prone as well, and just take out of your mind the fact that he played for Liverpool. Forget that for a minute. Just look at Coutinho as a player. I think he's still very, very good, and if he found the right club and the right manager, he could be like James Rodriguez. He looks like he's lost his way now, the way Rodriguez did at Real Madrid, and that he's kind of looking for a new home. If he finds the right home, and he finds supporters who take to him, and a manager who he feels has got his best interests at heart, then I think he could still be a really good player for somebody. But he's good enough to get a Champions League club, and I mean a top end Champions League club. So the likes of Inter Milan, because come back in for him, because he went there before he was there before Liverpool. If an Inter Milan or a Juventus or an AC Milan or even a team like Lyon in France, they were to come in for Coutinho, then he's not going to give us the time of day. So I'd like it ideally, but I don't think it's realistic.
The thing is, we're at a bit of an impasse here. How do we get into a position where we're attractive to these types of players? You talk about Champions League is obviously the big one. Europe. How do we do that when the players we've currently got can't get us into Europe?
You've just got to be smarter in the players that you do sign. They've got to be young. They've got to be hungry. They've got to be on the way up. and they've got to basically carry you forwards until you're in a position to go out and get these big star names to complement them, or those players themselves become star names in their own right. Can be done, mate. Look at Leicester. How many whale beaters have Leicester signed in the last ever? Even how many whale beaters have signed for them?
No one necessarily, but it's a team ethic there.
Exactly. They've made a few really shrewd signings, and they've fitted in well under a manager who knows how to use them properly. And they've got better strength by strength, haven't they? You've just got to sign players who I think are young, or at least have got it all to prove. They're not a cast off from another club. They're not taking a step down to join Everton.
I've said this all, like, we need to stop with that. That has to stop.
Yeah.
Even Coutinho, to be honest with you, that's the kind of reason I wouldn't want those kind of players, is because it's not the mould we need.
No. Yeah,
in Hammers, we've already got a playmaker.
We need players who still consider their best years to be ahead of them, not behind them, essentially, don't we?
Yeah.
That's as basic as you can put it. You've got to pick players who want to achieve great things and think they can achieve great things and are willing to come to Everton to try and achieve those great things with us. Not players who've already done it and just want a soft landing place to see out the final few years of the career, or maybe they fell out with a previous manager, or they can't get in a team anymore and they want to just basically come to here because they just don't want to be where they currently are, like Iwobi or someone like that. In their head, they might still think they've got a lot to offer, but the first choice, if they could, would be to stay where they are, really.
Yeah, it's irritating, really, because obviously we've come close this year, but it looks like we're going to miss out, and it's just, how would you sort of break that negative cycle of not qualifying for Europe and players not coming to you because you haven't qualified for Europe?
As I said, then you've just got to be clever in the players you do sign. You've got to get players who are young, who've look like they've got a lot of potential, and you've got to hope that those players live up to the potential. I mean, we've signed a few. We have tried to do that some of the time, and it doesn't always work. I mean, we hoped for a lot more than we got from Moise Keane, didn't we? And a few other players we've signed have kind of let us down, who we were hoping for. But that happens at every club. Not every club's going to sign. Every club signs a player who doesn't work out. Just Everton do it far more than most other clubs. We can't be signing players who, in 2 years, we might not want anymore. For me, any player we sign who's over the age of 25 has got to be a player who is coming into the first team and is going to stay in the first team for 4 years easily, like Tocore.
Yeah,
a player in that mould. Or if we get him, how old's Leon Bailey?
Leon Bailey's about 24, 25.
Yeah, of that mold, a player who you're coming in because we know he's going to be worth half a dozen points on his own easily, if not more. We know for a fact that he's going to come in and make a difference. There's no what if about it. We're not coming in hoping he's going to do all right. We know for a fact he's going to make us better because he's got a track record and he's got his best, and he's at the right age where we know he's got plenty more left in the tank. Any player who would sign to just be a squad player to fill, I think, or a player who we're hoping is going to be good in the next 3 or 4 years, but not necessarily straight away. We've got to buy them young.
In my eyes, we shouldn't be looking to sign squad players at the moment. The players who are in the squad now should be the squad players.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, but as I was mentioning earlier on, the squad players we've already got are proven they're not good enough to be squad players. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, when I'm saying that, I mean the players who are currently in the squad, we need to bring in players who are good enough to usurp them and make them play for the place.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we've got a starting 11 that's really, really good. We've seen it in the early months of the season. Our starting 11 is, I think, we're definitely capable of finishing in the top 6. But we need younger players who are going to be good enough to improve as the season goes on and as the years go on, rather than go downwards. And within 3 or 4 years, or shorter than that, if it's Ben Godfrey's case. I mean, we brought Ben Godfrey in, expected him to be 3rd or 4th choice, didn't we? And he's undroppable now. You want to sign players who are young, who are going to come in and get so good that eventually they're taking the places of the players they used to be understudy to, whilst those players who are still here and still good enough to offer something themselves, rather than bringing through a player and then he only gets in the team when the other fellas are crap and we're just desperate to get shot of him.
Yeah, well, we've seen that on a regular basis, and that's the real issue. Is that I think in this case, I'd just like us to sign a team of Ben Godfreys. To be honest, I just want a team of big athletic players who get about the pitch.
Exactly.
Grafters. I want grafters.
Well, I mentioned the centre half because Fabrizio's mentioned today that we're looking to get one in the summer, and if that's true, then we're surely looking to shift someone out, aren't we? So it's not going to be Godfrey. I think that's obvious. So let's assume and it's not going to be Holgate as well. Would you be happy if we shifted Keane or Mina? And if we had to shift one of them, who would you think we'd shift?
That's a tough one because I genuinely think Keane and Mina are pretty decent himself. I think one of them and Godfrey, I think, is a decent back centre back pairing. If there was an option for someone better, then yeah. Like if we're talking Koulibaly or something crazy like that, then hell yeah. But
Yeah.
the names that Fabrizio mentioned today don't inspire anything in me.
It's a strange one because Mina is this his third year or his fourth?
It will be his fourth next season.
His fourth, and did he sign a 5-year deal when we
think so, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, if Mina stays past this summer, it must mean we're looking to give him a new contract next season then, because he'll have less than 2 years left, and he's one of our highest earners as well. So you don't know whether they're looking at it and thinking, right, he's got 2 years left in the summer. We'll have to sell him this transfer window if we're going to get any money. So maybe they're thinking, right, we can buy someone who's just as good as Mina, if not slightly better, for a lower wage. That could be their thinking, because he's on well over 100 grand, Mina. Or whether they're looking at Michael Keane and thinking, right, he's had a run at the club now. He's been here 3 or 4 years and he's had his ups and his downs, but maybe it's time for him to move on and bring in someone who's a bit younger. You don't know, do you? I mean, I would like us to keep both of them and to shift Holgate, but Holgate's got the age factor in his favour, hasn't he? He's younger than those two. I think he's 23 or 24, whereas Keane's, 27, 28?
27. Mina's a little bit younger, about 25, 26, yeah.
Yeah, so if we are going to sell a centre back in the summer, I'd like it to be Holgate, because I don't think he's good enough to be a starter, and we don't need him as a squad player, essentially, because we're not going to have Europe. I'd be more than happy to have Gareth Bale, a youngster who's still got a lot of learning and growing to do, as the fourth choice. I think that would benefit him.
He's a unit himself, to be fair.
Yeah, I'd rather give that fourth choice slot to Branthwaite and maybe give him a few games over the course of the season and see what he can do with it, and hopefully watch him grow and develop as a player, rather than just persevere with Holgate, who keeps letting us down. And I think Holgate we could probably get a tidy little fee for. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's one of those. He's in a good position. I think we could sell to a bottom half team for, sort of 15 million type figure.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to sell him for really cheap. I mean, we wouldn't get loads, but we get a decent amount. So I would sell Holgate, but I think we could get, again, if we look to sell Keane, I think we could get a decent amount for Keane, because he is in and around the England team, isn't he? He's an England international, even if he's not necessarily in the first 11. He's still at a decent age for a defender. He's in his late 20s, isn't he? So he's still got a lot of years left, and he's well schooled. He's an old English centre half, isn't he? There's a lot of managers who would love to have a player like that, whether it's going back to Burnley and working with Dyche,
Burnley, anyone, yeah.
Whether it's going to Leeds with Bielsa. I could see a queue forming for Michael Keane. It wouldn't be a club that's better than Everton, but it would still be a decent move for him if he did look to go. Whereas Mina, you're not sure about. Like, would anyone come in and pay the money for Mina? Because he hadn't really played in Europe before he came to Everton, unless you count those 4 or 5 games out of Barca.
Yeah.
So it's like, what would any European club look to come in for him? And if they did, how much would they offer us?
Yeah.
I don't know, do you? So
also, Ewan Coombs made a good point. I like Mina and I want to stay, but he gets injured too much.
He does, but he's not had any major injuries, has he?
Not this season, anyway.
They're always just little niggles, aren't they? And it's annoying, but
but it's centre half. It's a big position. Feel like you don't want that kind of disruption sometimes.
Yeah, I know that, but if he was getting injuries constantly, where he was out for like a month at a time or 3 months at a time, if he was getting one of them every season, like some players do, then you'd think, oh yeah, like we already know going into the season he's only got 25 games in him. Then I would look to move him on, but I think Mina has been a bit unlucky with his injuries. I think Mina, most seasons, will still give us 30 plus games, or he'll be available 30 plus games. And it just depends if he gets in the team, because there have been times when he's been dropped in favour of Keane, hasn't it? And players like that. So I get what he's saying. Definitely, his injuries have been annoying, but I don't think his injuries are so bad that basically he's worth just looking to cash in on. That's my opinion, anyway, though.
Yeah, but it's the way of looking at it. We just want a team of more reliable players. I think that's the best way of putting it.
Is it so much to ask?
It is literally, like I've said before, team of Ben Godfrey. They're just one players who, when they go on the pitch, you can count on them. You don't have to pull any trees up. You don't have to be the next Zidane or whatever. They just need to, put a shift in for the shirt and, be all right on the ball. It's not like I say, a team of John McGinns or something. That'd be great.
Get you a long way for that. Leicester won the league doing that. No superstars in the team, just loads of grafters who worked really, really hard. That's all it was. That's all they did. And look at, even at the lesser example, look at Sheffield last season. They were a team that worked for each other really, really hard, and they finished in the top half. They're unlucky to not get Europe. I know the wheels will come off this season, but they've not spent money in the right way.
No, but it shows how far you can get with Endeavour.
Yeah, so I mean, hard work will always be talent if talent doesn't work hard. It's as simple as that.
It's hilarious that's etched on the wall of Finch Farm, and yet there's so many of these crabs still at the club reading that sign every day when they go into the gym or whatever, and then still putting in some of the turgid performances we're seeing on the pitch.
It must drive you mad if you are a Ben Godfrey, or you are an
Calvert-Lewin or someone,
a Calvert-Lewin or a Luca Dean or whoever, just a player who does consistently give, even if they're not brilliant performances, at least a performance where they'll come off the pitch thinking, at least I did my bit there. Do you know what I mean? And you look around, you think, that idiot didn't even put 10% as much effort in as me. Yeah, he's not getting all the flack. I mean, I was a bit harsh on Calvert-Lewin when I went on TalkSport the other day. I said, basically, he's not really scored enough goals for me this season, or didn't word it like that. I said he goes through runs of form where he doesn't score enough. I think he's on like 5 goals in 20, something like that. But how many goals has Iwobi got? Do you know what I mean?
One this season.
One. Do you know what I mean? How many goals has Gomes got for this season?
0.
How many goals has Sigurdsson got that aren't penalties? 2.
2 or 3.
2 or 3. And do you know what I mean? And it seems like they don't get anywhere near as much. They get criticism off Everton fans who know what they're talking about, but they don't get anywhere near as much criticism in the media as the likes of Calvert-Lewin does, because he's an England international now and the spotlight's on him constantly. If he'd stop scoring, the media will typically take it out on him and say that Ollie Watkins should be getting in the England squad over him, when it's not his fault. It's all the crabs who are behind him not working as hard for him as Ollie Watkins' teammates do when they're working hard for him.
That's exactly the point. It's like, if Ollie Watkins has John McGinn behind him, and Grealish when he's fit, and Douglas Luiz, I'd have all of them over the crabs we've got in our midfield.
It's just frustrating, isn't it? But is there any player who you've seen us linked with who you think, I hope we don't go for that, because we've been linked with a few players.
Bale, Coutinho. Basically, all the ones, as we discussed before, basically where they've been saying they're coming from the position where they treat the club as a step down. I don't want any of them.
The Aguero one's nonsense.
Even Aguero again. I mean,
Aguero seems
a really good professional, by the way. Aguero, I really like Aguero.
Yeah. Aguero's a good egg, but it's the same thing. It's just a soft landing for him. It's somewhere to basically
ease out his career. It's like a retirement home.
Yes, somewhere to put his tent up, and he doesn't have to change his kids out of the school that they're in. He doesn't have to uproot his family and drive too far away to go to training every day.
It's basically like it's similar to like when we brought in, you mentioned like Sahar before, who was a really good player, but his best years were well behind him when we brought him in here.
Yeah, exactly. So the Bale one is absolute nonsense. Anyone who's even read Carlo Ancelotti's book knows that Ancelotti doesn't like Gareth Bale. They don't click as people. They had the problems at Real Madrid. So the fact, all this report that Carlo Ancelotti has gone to Brands or Machiri and asked for Gareth Bale is just, it's absolute shite. Coutinho, I don't believe. I mean, I think that's just a journalist looking to Maybe
provoke some cop-out reactions, probably.
Yeah, probably that, or it's maybe Coutinho's agents looking to get his player to move, and he's just doing the old trick of linking them with Everton, who he knows have got money and are looking to sign players, like a lot of teams do. It's what agents are there for. They're there to generate interest in their clients and what bigger story
drive up fees, drive up agent fees, and whatnot.
Yeah, and as you just pointed out then, he's bound to get some headlines if he mentions a former Liverpool player getting linked with Everton, isn't he? So, and the Aguero one, I don't think Aguero's going to stay in the Premier League.
No.
Even if
it's always been in his mind. Once he got to a certain age, he wants to go to Independiente anyway, or some Argentinian club.
I don't think he'll go back there just yet. I think Aguero might rock up in somewhere like Italy or France. Do you know what I mean? I think he could still do it at a semi-good level. Like he could still play for a club who's in the Champions League or the Europa League.
Talking like a Roma or something.
Yeah, so a team like that, a team that's still in the top four in their respective league, but is probably not going to win the title and is not going to win the European Cup, but will have a run in it. I think he's still good enough for that level. I think he's got 3 or 4 years of that before he ends up going and back to Independiente. He's basically at the level, he's at the stage that Dzeko was at when he left City a couple of years ago, where still a really good player with a really good uses, but he's not good enough to be a starter at City anymore, and he's basically not content to just sit on the bench. And they're not happy to pay a player like him with the wages he's getting to sit on the bench and come and play 15 games a season. So it's better that they just shake hands and all part as friends now.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the case. But with that in mind, we had a little discussion, I think, about this in the group chat the other day, didn't we, about the positions you'd like to see us sign just before we wrap up. What positions would you address and in what order of priority?
Central midfield, right back, striker, and goalkeeper. I think they're all very important, but I think we have to get another central midfielder because we can't be doing with Andre Gomes and Sigurdsson in the team in those positions, in and around those areas anymore. We're just not good enough and they haven't got the legs. Then we need a right back because Coleman's too old. I wouldn't shed a tear if Coleman left the club in the summer. I don't think he will, but he's not going to. Ancelotti said
he won't. He won't, but he has to be the second choice next season.
He's got a contract for life.
Established second choice.
He's got a contract for life, as Ancelotti says, but I think Coleman's uses are very, very limited now. I think he can only be a right wing back. He can't even play the right back role in a flat four anymore. Personally, I don't think he can do that. But yeah, we need a right back, a new young right back who can make the shirt his own. We need to sort out the striker situation because Calvert-Lewin needs a backup. It's surely not going to be Josh King because he's barely played. Why would you keep on a player who's not done anything? Essentially, they must fancy him. Not the end of the world. It's no loss, is it? I mean, he came in on a 6-month deal. It was basically just one big audition. And
it's not like we've been lumbered with them like we have with other players in the past. Like they say when Toten thing comes back.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not going to be Josh King by the looks of it. It's probably not going to be. No, he's not going to get in the under-23s team, is he? With his injury, it's not going to be Moise Kean. He looks pretty nailed on to be going in the summer on a permanent, does he? Good luck to him as well. Good luck to him and Josh King. I hope they leave Everton with no hard feelings. It hasn't worked for either one of them, has it? And it's no harm for the club. In Moise Kean's case, we'll get our money back, surely. And in Josh King's
place, we haven't lost our.
Yeah, and in Josh King's situation, we've not really lost anything, just a couple of months of wages, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So good luck to him. So yeah, we need a central midfielder badly. We need a right back badly. We really need to sort out the striker situation, and we need the goalkeeper situation now. That's probably the least important one, but we still do need someone, whether it's going to sign Olsen on a permanent or whether it's going out and getting someone else. But
Chesney was linked today.
I don't believe that personally. I know
Donnarumma.
I know Chesney's going to get relegated to number 2 at Juve because it's nailed on. Juve are going to sign Donnarumma, aren't they? He's leaving AC Milan, but Chesney's not going to come to Everton because I think Chesney again falls into that bracket of he could probably go and be a starter at some other club that's better than Everton currently. I think so. I'd have Chesney if he got linked. I'd have Chesney as a Nigel Martin type signing. Have him as a number 2 have him as a number 1 for 2 or 3 years, and hopefully it gives us time to sort of maybe look around for someone else. Because I do think Chesney is a better goalkeeper than Pickford. That's just my opinion. It's just his age, isn't it? So I'd if we did get Chesney, I'd be all right with that. He could come in and do a job for a couple of years, I think, but I don't think it's realistic. But we do need to sort of goalkeeper situation out, whether it's a new bona fide number one or whether it's just a solid number two to keep pushing Pickford, which I think it's likely to be. I think it's going to be Olsen or someone else.
Yeah, I think you never touched on. I'd put right winger in the mix as well. I think we need a winger, someone with pace and some sort of trickery that, someone a bit more direct in the Bailey type mould.
We need somebody because it will depend on the formation we play, whether it's going to be 4-3-3 or whether it's 4-2-3-1 or you don't know, do you? I mean, I think Richarlison's going to be it's going to be Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison are going to be two of our attacking players next season, and Rodriguez, if he can, when he's fit. It's just who's that fourth player going to be, whether we're going to play 4-3-2-1 or whether it's going to be a weird diamond situation. But you've got to bring someone in who can play 20 plus games a season and he's going to be no problem with him, which is not the case with Iwobi or Bernard or Josh King, it looks like. I mean, I thought we'd see a bit more of Josh King playing out wide. Apparently he can play all across the three, couldn't he? But again,
that was the plan. I'm surprised we haven't, but
I am. But we're going to need somebody because Iwobi's garbage.
Bernard's not going to cut it.
Bernard's not going to cut it, and
Gomes is a crab.
Gomes can't play out wide. Yeah, Gordon's not ready. Yeah, Gordon's probably going to go out on loan again. Do you know what I mean? We're going to need somebody. So I'm not sure, but I'd sort those other four positions out first because worst case scenario, we can just play a 4-3-3, hopefully, and not have any really leave for wingers. Because in a 4-3-3, I want to see us players play with two wide forwards. There's a difference between a wide forward and a winger. I don't want players who are staying at hugging the lines, looking to get crosses in. I want players who are going to look to get in the box themselves and contribute with goals, which I think Richarlison is best at doing.
But to do that, you need fullbacks who are going to get forward. And Coutinho, we've got one, but we need the same on the right.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important we go and get a right back like a Max Aarons or someone else, because I think he could do that definitely. But I haven't got my heart set on Max Aarons for that right back position. I think there's a lot of good right backs around the continent who could come in and do a job. But if Max Aarons is the player they've set their heart on, then I've got no problem.
Don't get him. But that's the thing. We've got to make sure we get our targets this summer and get it done.
We have to get who we want because we can't get into a situation like 2 years ago where we're in the last week of the window or even the last day of the window and we're just absolutely panicking and some agent rings us up and just has our trousers down and lumbers us with someone who is shit.
Iwobi, basically.
Yeah, because that's exactly what happened 2 years ago.
What you're referring to, I know.
Yeah,
I was here. I was on this live stream during the deadline day when that happened and I was just sunk. And that was announced because I knew then that it was a bad move. I was proven right, and there was a point where I thought I might be proven wrong, and I'd like to have been, but it's not the case.
You're always going to try and talk yourself into it, aren't you? And look for any positive you can. But that move just had.
I just got bad vibes off it straight away.
It did not pass the smell test at all, did it? That was a case of they spent all transfer window chasing Zaha. I don't know why, because it was never realistic we were going to get him, but they spent all season chasing someone else. Couldn't get him. They promised the manager that they would get him a wide player. The first choice is not happening.
That was Iwobi.
And they've literally just rang around like on deadline day, trying to get hold of any agent that they can, saying, "Have you got any wide players who are available who we could sign?" And Iwobi's agent's got on the phone to them, and he's let them know that his client Iwobi's available. And we've looked at him and gone, all right, he's playing for a big club. He's youngish. We'll take a chance on him, and hopefully he can come in and do something. And it's backfired.
Yeah, taking a chance of spending 15 million on a player, not 30.
Yeah, essentially taking a chance on a player who wasn't even getting in a team that we were looking to overtake.
Yeah,
essentially, because we were looking to push on and get ahead of Arsenal that season. We'd finished 8th, and Arsenal just finished 6th, hadn't they, in the final season under Wenger. We should have been looking to push on and climb above Arsenal. Why are we signing their cast-offs? No, it wasn't even 6th. It wasn't 6th. That was a season under Emery, wasn't it? They just lost the Europa League final. And where did they finish under Emery?
6th.
Yeah, it was under Emery. Yeah, he couldn't get in the new Emery system when Emery was basically making sweeping changes across the club and looking to bring in youth. And Iwobi was part of that youth, and even he couldn't get a look in that scenario. Not like he could turn around and blame the manager for not being fair to him. The manager brought through
Gave him a chance.
That manager that season of Arsenal gave everyone a chance, like Guendouzi and Smith Rowe and everyone like that. They all got a chance and took it, and you never. So why we're taking players off teams who are essentially just cast-offs? And it's not like we're in League One and we'll be happy just to have some Premier League nomad because he could be the difference. We're looking to climb above a team who are only 2 places above us in the league table. He's not good enough. If he's not good enough for a team that's 2 places above us and 10 points or whatever it was, why are we looking to sign him? Why is he going to come here and be any better? Especially when he's a London boy and he's moving up north. Be different maybe if he was playing for a team away from home and he was moving closer to home. That looks like it's happened with Lingard, hasn't it? He's come back down south and it's working out for him.
But that's the issue. I think we've said it on a number of occasions already on this show. It's just tonight alone about this. We don't want to be signing players who are taking a so-called step down to play here. We want players who are coming in young and hungry and treating it, namely, as it should be, a privilege to play for Everton.
We need players who want to push the train and get the train moving, not players who only want to get on the train when it's already out of the station and it's picking up speed. That's a Klopp. That's a quote from Klopp, which I don't like the fella, but that's a really good quote when he was.
It is. And
that
namely, what gets a train moving is what we need. We need a team of engines.
That's what he said. I think in his first or whatever. Not long after he got at Liverpool, basically, when he was at the start of his project for Liverpool and they were getting linked with lots of players. And he essentially said, I only want players who are looking to come here and improve themselves and improve the club, not players who are already at their peak, thinking that they're doing us a favour by coming here.
Makes you wonder why he signed Thiago, because that's like the opposite of what you'd normally do.
Well, they just won the league, hadn't he? And they thought he was going to be a player who could come on and kick them on. And he did look good in Germany, didn't he? And I think it's just a case of they've signed a player who wasn't as good as they thought he was, essentially, not just signing a player for the sake of it, which is what a lot of clubs do, like Real Madrid and Barcelona. They sign players without having any plan in place for them. They just think they'll come in and they have this mentality of, oh, we'll figure it out later. He's that good. It doesn't matter if we put him at left back, he'll make the team better. It's like, no. There's world-class players who they sign, who the team gets worse when you try and shoehorn them in, like Griezmann, like Barcelona have had loads, haven't they? What was the name of that striker?
Gomes, one of them.
Gomes. Who was that striker they had who went to Dortmund and played really well?
Alcacer.
Yeah, he was at Barca, wasn't he? Great player, but didn't work out at Barca. And even at Real, look at Eden Hazard. It's not worked out for him, has it?
No.
That's
what I'm saying. Like, basically, we need a team of engines, workhorses who are going to, like you say, push us out the station, because we need that all across the board. You can have the odd luxury player like a James Rodriguez.
Yeah, we need one or two players who've got that little bit of magic about them. Put the sprinkling on top of the cake, haven't you? There's no point having sprinkle on if there's no
cake.
Yeah, essentially, it's just
definitely no cake here.
Just sprinkles on an empty plate, isn't it? And that's what Everton are at the moment. They've got a lot of pretty footballers, but no substance.
Yeah. So yeah, in a nutshell, let's get a team of engines, a team of Ben Godfrey's, a team of John McGinn's, whatever. Just get a team of absolute workhorses and get us. Actually, I want to see Everton running around the pitch next season rather than walking as we have been this year. In a nutshell.
Yeah. So
yeah, we'll leave it at that anyway, guys.
I'll mention one last thing before we go. If there's one player who you're absolutely desperate for us to get, and you'll be gutted if we miss out on them, who would it be? Is it Max Aarons, or is there someone else you've got in mind? Do you think you've seen us linked with him and you're really, really desperate to see us get him?
Bailey.
Is that yours? I would love Bailey as well. It's just, the more I think about it, the more I start to think it's not realistic myself. But mine would probably be Bailey as well.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm so devastated about Europe. I feel like we could still get Aarons without Europe, but that's why you've seen how depressed I've been whenever we've made a crushing defeat like that Villa one the other day. Is like, when it feels like Europe's slipping away, it feels like signing a player as good as him is slipping away.
Yeah. Feels like if you get that same feeling of if a deal's fell through in transfer deadline day, when you'd convinced yourself it was happening.
Yeah, well, I was convinced myself that we would be getting Europe this season. I said just before the turn of the year. I think it was around Christmas time. I was speaking to a mate of mine who's a Leeds fan, and he was saying, "You look all right this season. How do you reckon you'll get on?" And I said, "Then I'd be disappointed if we didn't get top 6, and we're not going to get top 6.
Not even top 7 by the look of it. I mean, it's still mathematically feasible, but would anyone put the money on us the way we're performing at the moment? You'd be stupid to.
That's it. It tells you how wretched we've been the second half of this season.
Yeah. I mean, there's still a lot of good foundations there, because I do think our best 11 is really,
it's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, it's a force to be reckoned with. It's just we've got to, sick of saying it, we've got to just get rid of dross, haven't we, and replace them with players, even if they're not good enough to get in the 11, are hopefully going to be good enough.
Going to fight for it at least.
Yeah, they're going to fight for it, and they're hopefully going to be good enough for the first 11 in the not too distant future. Not just be stuck with players who, even if they were here 10 years, they'd never ever be a starter.
No, and we've got plenty of them. But with that in mind, I think that's definitely like, I want to see. Basically, that's all I'm saying on this, and I can go on about it till the cows come home. But I just want players in this team who are going to run some more. Basically, I want a team of engines, a team of pace, a team of aggression, a team of hunger. And that's it. I just want players who'll work the socks off for Everton and give everything they've got. And to be honest, I think as most Everton fans, that's all we want.
That's all any football fan wants. Just a player who's going to be at your club, leaving it all out there on the football pitch. And it's just so depressing when you think the vast majority of players, no matter what club they play for, are not willing to do that. They're willing to just go there, give the bare minimum, get the money, and then not feel bad about it afterwards.
Yeah. And so, yeah, basically, that's what I want in a nutshell. Get workhorses in, get us pushing forwards. Yeah, I think that's about it, really.
Yeah, it's a note to wrap it up on. But if there's any other players you'd like to see Everton sign, who you think are maybe realistic, or links that you've seen us, or players you've seen us linked with that you think are just dead funny because they're ridiculous, then please let us know, because I did get a proper laugh out of that Bale one. Whoever's tweeting this out and writing like articles about it for Sport Witness, you just think, my God, like, are you just that dim? Do you know what I mean? Like, you just don't know anything about Carlo Ancelotti.
I remember my first beer.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, they've written that, as you said, literally just as clickbait. They don't even know the subject that they're writing about. If they knew Carlo Ancelotti, they'd know that he didn't like working with Gareth Bale. He would never, ever, ever, no matter what club he was at, go to his director of football or his owner and say, "Demand it." Bale. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Do you know, it'd be like if Jurgen Klopp went in. It's like Jurgen Klopp's going in saying demanding that he wants to manage the Man United. It's like, for a fact he would never say that. Do you know what I mean?
It's just insane, isn't it? But that's the nature of the transfer window, and we'll have plenty more of these shows coming, like in the weeks and months to come, where we'll be debating this kind of nonsense on a regular basis. So, for you guys who've tuned in, thanks for tuning in, and definitely strap yourselves in, because silly season's coming very soon. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. Drop us a comment. Keep the comments coming in even when the stream's over. Give us a like and subscribe for more transfer content. Loads to come. Season's nearly over, thank Christ. And be prepared for silly season, guys, and make sure you get tuned in and ring the bell for more. And guys, thanks for tuning in on the Toffee Blues. We'll see you later.